Well, hello again, everyone, and welcome to our latest webcast that we're bringing you from Travel Weekly. And I'm delighted to be joined this morning by Annelene Hutton, who is the Managing Director at Dawson Sanderson. How are you, Annelene? Good morning.
Good morning. I'm very well, thank you, and thank you for having me.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure because we've met before, but we haven't really had a chance to have a chat. And we're so excited that you're in place now. And we're excited with all your plans. And we're hoping you're going to share a little bit with us today. But Annalie, let's just start with you, if I may, because you're relatively new to travel. I know you joined the company last spring and stepped up to MD in September. But before that, you were not in this sector, were you?
No, this is a completely new industry for me, and a very exciting one, I will say. But no, my background, so I'm an accountant, is my trade. I've done that for over 25 years. Always worked in mainly high volume manufacturing businesses. Touched on service industry with the likes of G4S, but predominantly manufacturing for some real global leading businesses like BASF, Nissan, but very
Wow.
different to travel.
Yeah, absolutely, and we do quite like it when people come in to travel with totally new skills. But what brought you here? How did you come across?
Um, yeah, a bizarre situation really. So I was between contracts. I'd just finished a contract at the end of last year. And doing that kind of thing, I always like to take a break. So I was having my 3 month break. I had another job kind of almost lined up, which was due to start a few months later. And then I got a call one morning from a friend of mine, who we had a mutual friend through the business, who said, "Oh, I've got this 12-week contract that's just come up. You'd be perfect. Would you be prepared to go and meet them?" And the reality was, my husband was moaning about the withdrawals from the bank account rather than depositing. So I was like, well, okay, I've got a few weeks on my hands. Why not? Sounds interesting. Yeah, and that's the rest history. I
Now
literally started the next day.
I was going to say, and now you're hooked. This is what happens in travel.
Yeah,
People get bitten by the travel bug, as we say. So you obviously haven't looked back. So you started in a finance role,
yeah,
and then obviously there was some changes, weren't there,
yeah.
at Dawson and Sanderson, and there was that issue. Is that all put to bed now? Let's just cover that off because
It is,
we had to write those stories, and a few
of
people
course.
left.
Yeah.
It was to do with the sort of the accounts not being approved and then being so that's all now sorted.
It is. I'm delighted. Yeah, it's been a tough year. Certainly hasn't been easy by any stretch of the imagination, but we've completed 2.5 years of statutory accounting in that time. We've appointed new auditors who are ATOL registered, and they actually did a 7-year audit to cover those 2.5 years, just to make sure we just wanted to clear the decks, make sure there was no questions over anything. So yeah, we're on an even keel now. We've got our next set of accounts to publish, which we'll do so early this year, which will be a delight, and put
Great.
all that behind us, which is brilliant.
Okay. All right. Thank you for clearing up. That's great to hear. So then September comes along and they say, "Do you know what, Annalene, you're doing a great job. Let's make you managing director." And I mean, that's quite a big step up quite quickly, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And to be honest, I did have reservations mainly around the industry, lack of experience in the industry. I have been asked to do this role on a couple of occasions, but I've always favoured the account side, which is why I've always kind of stayed in that field. But it's a very exciting industry. There are a lot of long-serving staff in this business with a lot of experience. And the only side that was really kind of on the weaker side was that business management side of it, which is obviously my background. So actually bringing us together and forming that partnership has worked really, really well. So yeah, it was a little negotiation, but agreed to step up. And initially we said we'd just trial it, but I think we're all happy things have been working nicely.
Good.
I consider myself a gatekeeper, though, I will say. So I'm kind of looking after things. Tommy Dawson obviously founded the company in 1962. So
Yeah.
we've been going a long time. And his grandson has recently been appointed to the board of directors. So
Right.
I
Yeah.
share my
David.
office with him, and he will eventually take over the company, which is absolutely the right thing. So I do see it as kind of looking after things and teaching him that business side of things, ready for him to take the reins
Oh,
one day.
when do you think that will happen? When will he step up to take the full role
So
then?
He's I think he's 26 currently. Forgive me for saying his age out loud, but there you go. Yes, a young gentleman, very, very bright. He's worked in the industry and in the business for 7 years. He started on the counters. He's worked in the FX business. He's worked in the corporate entity, so he knows the company from its roots inside out.
Yeah, he's earned his stripes,
So
hasn't he?
he
Then?
has. So I think
Definitely.
stepping up, he's now looking after the marketing team and business development opportunities, and he's got some fantastic ideas. But with regards to timescales, we've just said we're going to work closely together and see how it goes. There is no line in the sand, shall we say. I think we'll just see how that transition naturally works.
Okay. All right. So David's there sharing your office, and it sounds like that's a good partnership. And you were mentioned, obviously, you've got this great team of experienced people. So
Yes,
just talk about, can you just outline the structure? Because I think you've recently made some other changes
we
as well,
have.
haven't you?
Yeah, so when I came into the company, it was a very flat structure. So we've got Jan Fawcett, who's been in the business almost 30 years or 30 plus years. I'm not exactly sure, but a very long time. And she knows the roots of the business and obviously the industry side so very well. So Jan's our retail director. But what we had was all of our branches and everybody reporting into Jan when I came. Now that's a huge challenge, and what that can do is you can have people feeling quite alienated with it's difficult to get hold of somebody for support when you've only got one person to go to. So we've actually just done a complete restructure of the business, and we've introduced regional managers.
Right.
So they're actually, our last appointment was made last week, so this is literally hot off the press. So we now have regional managers in place, and we are looking just to make the moves internally so we can free them up for that role. And
Are
alongside,
these, sorry, Annelene, are these people that you've promoted internally,
yes.
or have you brought people in from
So these are
outside?
promotions internally. So we've
Yeah.
got some really up and coming managers in our branches. And actually, when we put the internal adverts out, it was an amazing process to see the talent coming through
Yeah.
and the passion for the industry. And actually, people who had new ideas of really wanting to transform the business. So it was a very difficult interview process. I will say, and we were left literally beaming from ear to ear throughout that, just to see that excitement coming through and people's ideas. So yeah, they are promoted internally, and we've
And
supported that.
how many regions have you split it into then? How many regional managers have
Yeah.
you got?
So at the moment, we're going to see how we go with two. So we've introduced two managers. That will be 10 branches each, which is
Yeah.
still quite a lot. And we don't know whether that's the right formula, let's be honest. But one thing that I'm very keen to do is it's about listening. We have two ears and one mouth for a reason, as I do like to say. So it's very important to listen to what people are saying. So what we've said to the guys is, look, let's roll out with two. So we've got two regional managers, but supported with a training and development manager. So she will work alongside the regional managers to give the staff the training and support that they need. But we will kind of suck it and see how that goes. And if 10 is too many and they're finding that a challenge, then we'll obviously look again and actually reach out to some of the other candidates as well to split that into maybe 3, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. So 10 branches each. Now I thought you were at 21 shops. So are you now at 20 then? Is that you say
We're at
10
20.
each?
Yeah, we have so
Okay.
20 retail outlets. We have closed one very recently for many reasons. So yes, we're down at 20 at the moment. We do have an additional FX bureau as well to that. So there's still 21 shops in total.
Okay. And so is that where you see being the optimum number, Annelene, or do you see growth coming, and if so, how and where?
Yes, of course. No, I think, look, we have had to rationalize the business coming out of COVID. It's been
Yeah.
it's been a really difficult time, and let's not kid ourselves, the whole industry has. And I think we suffered for different reasons, not only the COVID, but obviously some of the difficulties we had from the administrative problems that we incurred.
Yeah.
That's kind of put us a little bit on the back foot. So I do look around and think actually we need to start moving quite quickly. I think that's something that people have been taken by surprise with myself coming in is, we talk about things and then it happens, and that takes people a little by surprise, but you've got to move quickly to take advantage of things. So no, I don't think that's the optimum. I would certainly like to see us expanding, and we are looking at opportunities already for next year. We launched a new division about 8 weeks ago, and this is our media team. So again, something that was kind of managed within the branches where we were selling and promoting holidays through kind of social media,
Yeah.
but we didn't have a core team of people to focus on that solely. So we have brought people in externally for that. So I think it's a different type of selling. So we've launched that division, which has, it's going really well. It's
I
good
was
to
going to
see.
say, so eight weeks ago, I know it's still
Yeah,
pretty fresh, but you must be able to get a gauge of
yeah.
how that's working so far.
I'm really proud. I think we got the right person. The engagement online is there. The responsiveness is there. We're starting to see that that click and response.
So
And
they
now
look after it centrally rather than the individual branches having to worry too much, or do they still do some of their own social?
it's a bit of both. It's a balance now, to be honest with you. And I think that's the right approach, because I think each of our branches have their own local customers. And they do vary depending on the location. We do have some that are very focused on the cruise markets and the high end. And then we have our Jet 2 branches that are a lot more focused on your beach holidays. And I think we couldn't go uniformed approach to everybody. We do need to tailor to our customers' needs.
Okay, all right, that's good. I don't want to miss out on things that I keep thinking I must ask you. So when you said just in terms of the growth, and you're saying it's not optimum, you're looking for some stuff for next year. Would that be more shops in the same areas that are your stronghold, or can you see Dawson and Sanderson maybe extending its reach into different parts? I mean, I know you're very northeast based, but I mean, how far can the brand extend?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. And actually, I had a call with another business partner exactly on this topic this morning. We are looking at the areas of expansion, but our brand is known in the north. So we kind of range from the borders towards Scotland down to Doncaster.
Yeah.
We go from Hull to Carlisle. So we do have a really good reach. And I think there is still opportunity in that area to do what we do well and with a known brand. I think if we started pushing outside those boundaries too quickly, I think we could struggle, because nobody will know who we are and won't know what we're about. But you know, our excellence in customer service in the north is known, and that's why people return to us. So I think you've got to build on your brand and our reputation. So I think for me,
so that would be the initial focus, to stay within the region, and presumably because the regional flying is just so important to your customers, isn't it? So they can, and I guess that's what you push so well.
Yeah. But we have got other ideas. So like I say, David, working in the business, as our business development director. He's young and understands, the change in market dynamics. So, he was the one who's launched the media business stream, and we've got another one, which I'm not going to give too much away, but that hopefully will launch in coming weeks. So we have another entity there.
You've got to give us you've got to give us something. That's too much of a tease. What kind of area is it in? Is it
more luxury?
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is, and I want to come on to talk about trends, and you sort of touched on it there, because you said you've got some cruise and some more beach, but we'll come on to talk about trends. But that's exciting. I mean, we wrote a story about you fairly recently saying that you'd seen this huge growth in your online business. So we consider you being, a high street retailer, but obviously obviously you've talked a little bit about the social and marketing and reaching customers a different way. But you are selling a lot online as well now, aren't you?
We are improving in that area, yes. So it's certainly something we're investing in. We actually have a new head of marketing joining the business on Wednesday this week. So we've just appointed him. I think he'll be a great addition to the team. And again, hasn't worked in travel, but has worked for some really big high street retailers. So I think that experience he will bring for us. We've also just engaged in a new project to look at our websites and what we're doing there to really improve that customer experience, because I think you're competing in quite a high area. It's very competitive, and I think just improving that customer experience to engage with them better is that one of our next moves, shall we say?
Yeah, I mean, that you make the point about the high competition, and you have got competition in your area. So what is it then that you focus on that you believe is your USP? I mean, you talked a bit about service there, but I'm sure everybody will go, well, we've got great service. But what is it that makes you or makes customers keep coming back, and obviously attracts new customers, I guess?
Yeah, I think the repeat customers is down to the service. I can't underestimate. We've won some of the highest awards. We're up there with the likes of Jet 2. We have to shout that from the rooftops, and that's why our customers return. But you have to look at our customer base, and our customer base is predominantly the older generation. And that's a change in dynamic for us. And I think to attract new and younger clients, that's something that we really need to address. We have embarked on this, again, giving a little bit away here, but we are looking at our branding. and what that message sends, so that we can actually, we don't want to lose sight of who we are, but it is about in that engagement with the family market, the younger generation, that we mustn't lose sight of, because we can't just focus all of our eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
So we are looking at a rebrand hopefully next year. It's quite a big project, so we are looking at that, because I do think
just more, you mean to sort of modern, because what you're saying is you don't want to alienate the loyal customers because they love you for what you are,
yeah.
but you feel that it can stretch and you can be relevant and appeal to a younger families, as you say, younger audience, which I guess you need if you're going to grow.
100%, 100%. Yeah, there's a lot more out there, and I think we need to be a bit more diverse. I think we've very much focused on a specific formula, and it's worked for a very long time. But with an older customer base, that will leave us with a problem in the future. So we do have to look to start opening up new avenues as we stand now.
And is that rebrand really focusing on sort of just like the logo and is it also include color schemes and strap lines, or does it also really, behind it have a real strategy around moving into different markets and how you do that?
It's going to be the whole business really to get behind this. So yes, logo, yes, the imagery, our shops, even when you walk in, the feel for that, the staff uniforms, which our staff will be delighted to hear.
Oh dear, have they not changed for a while?
They've not, no. And and I think the thing I keep coming back to is, let's listen. These guys are at the front end of our business and dealing with our customers. We have to listen to what's important to them. And I think we've been a little bit kind of slow on the uptake on that. And I think that's where me coming in and being keen to, if there's an idea, let's drive it forward, let's make it happen.
And when you say you've been slow on it, have you not really had the forums to get that kind of listening thing going and the feedback? And what have you done to change that so that you can now, pick up on all these things that people are feeling from the front line?
Yeah, and I don't know. Obviously, I don't know, and I wasn't in the business historically, so I don't know. Look, I look at the trauma that kind of COVID has put on everybody. Everybody, you had some people furloughed, you had others trying to work remotely. It's a very draining time for people coming out. And I think the fact that we had this very flat structure as well, with a lack of people to turn to, everybody's so busy. You've got a business in crisis trying to recover, and coming out of any kind of pandemic, something like that it's very stressful on those trying to move the business forward. So I think all of those things just came together at a perfect time. And maybe we weren't as good at those things at that time. But we're now getting out and about to the branches. I did 3 visits on Friday just to sit down and talk to people. We have to listen. I'm a massive believer in they have the answer to a lot of our problems. So let's sit down and listen. We've started doing survey monkeys and getting votes out there to engage with people. And I just think it's so important. You can't ignore your workforce. They're without them, we don't have a business. I think it's important that they know that.
So let's talk about your workforce. Did you manage to keep hold of most of them during COVID, or like most companies did have a bit of, departure by some people who may have come back, but some haven't come back. So, where are you in terms of your workforce, the original one, in terms of growing it as well? Because if you're planning to grow your business, where, there's a big issue, isn't there, about finding the right talent to sort of service that?
Yeah, we did lose some staff. We did have to make some redundancies in COVID. They weren't too significant, to be fair, when I look at the numbers. Obviously, I wasn't here, but I have looked at the stats. We didn't lose too many, and we do have very, very long-serving staff, which is something to be very proud of. People are leaving, and I think it's a general industry thing. We have seen people actually just get up and just say they've just had enough and they want something different. And I think obviously the pandemic it's thrown all the risks into it very loud, and they're in your face, aren't they? The risks of the travel industry. But it's really about stabilizing that now. When we get out and talk to our staff, they're very committed to our brand and our business, and it does mean a lot to them, the fact that they've been with the company so long. So they are very loyal, which is, we're very proud of that. But as you say, to grow, we do need to bring people in. I think no different to anybody else. We've got a number of vacancies right now, and we're actively trying to recruit. I will say applicants, we don't generally get applicants with any travel experience. So we are looking at that training and development piece.
And do you have to change what I know you weren't there previously, but are you having to look at the sort of whole package of what you're offering, whether it's in terms of flexible working or salary or you know, obviously fam trips used to be massive, and I know they're coming back now, but they haven't
Yeah.
been around for a while. Yeah, like I'm talking to a lot of people who are saying we can't just offer what we offered before.
No.
We're having to really change and make it a much better package for people to come into the industry.
100%. And this is our main, so this is our priority number one right now. We've stabilized the business. We've done so much. We've got all of those backlogs of work behind us. And now we're focusing on the future of the company. And I've just sat down with our training coordinator today, who's just started her new role today. And that's what I've said is our priority is to understand what's important to the workforce, what needs we need to meet. I think we historically were one of the best paid travel agencies in the Northeast. And that's something we need to hold on to. And I think we have slipped, I'll be honest with you. I think coming out of COVID, other people have upped the game and are offering higher salaries, and we haven't responded to that as quickly. But that's something we are responding very quickly to now, and we're putting in pay scales with kind of development matrices behind them, which is something quite new to Dawson and Sanderson. It's probably got a bit more of a corporate feel, which is obviously my background. But,
but if it works, because people feel they've got something to aspire to and work towards, and it's based on performance, and that will be good for the business ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting because I went out 2 weeks ago and we announced pay increases for the employees, and the remit I was given and the feedback from the staff I had at the time was we must put obviously as high a pay increase out as we can at the moment with the cost of living crisis, but they also wanted to see the reintroduction of good bonus structure as well. So we looked at, well, what do we have to play with, and we did a divide. And then we made the announcement to the staff, and we had mixed feelings, to be honest. And again, it comes back to we need to listen to our staff. So with that mixed feelings coming back, we're doing a big business update on Wednesday, and my question to the staff will be, did we get that decision right? Was the balance between the pay increase and the bonus structure correct? And if not, I'm going to put that out to a vote to all of the employees to say, we can undo it. And if you want us to do it a different way, you tell us how you want us to do it, and we'll rebalance that for you. If a higher pay increase is more important, let's do that.
Oh, I see. So some of them were happy with the bonus.
Yes.
Some of them would rather have it into their main package. Okay. And so that's great. So I guess you'll do it based on the majority. So you'll find out what people want. Okay. Yeah. I mean, the challenge in all of this is, you say you want to pay more. We all want to pay more, but it's got to come from somewhere. Yes. So how will you balance the books? If you're going to be investing in a rebrand and new uniforms and doing your shops and paying people more. I mean, obviously you want to therefore get more revenue in, I'm sure. But I mean, is that how you do it, or have you got investment from elsewhere, or how are you doing it?
Well, we completely restructured the business last year. So the way the business was financially structured, that's already changed, and that set us up for allowing us to invest in the business much more successfully than we've ever had historically. So I think historically, money was taken from the business rather than it being reinvested. And we've drawn a line on that now. And any profits that the company make will be reinvested in its employees and its staff. So that return and reward will retain within the company, which is fantastic.
Okay, so you previously it just wasn't available to be reinvested, but now you've changed that. So so you've got a little bit to play with.
We do.
And then hopefully all of these things will then result in a better performance, and ultimately it's just a growing thing, isn't it? Or hopefully you can plow more back into the business. Okay, brilliant. So let's talk then about just on you mentioned training and stuff there a couple of times, and also just to finish off on the staff, are they all back working permanently in shops, or obviously some people work from home? Have you got an element of your team that do home working and that's stayed, or is it all back to normal?
It's mainly back to normal. We have approached people to see if people are interested to do home working, but we don't really have the technology set up for that 100% ourselves yet. We have a number of staff that are now working remotely. So our media team, for example, they are working remotely, and that's kind of the initial input into that area. We are more than happy to look at anything, to be honest with you, and I think we do need a more flexible approach. It's just, obviously we need to maintain our stores, and we're on quite minimum staffing levels as it stands. So in order to do that, we need to be able to get that new resource into the business to allow us to do all of these nice things, because we kind of need everybody on board to play a part to allow those things to happen.
Yeah. So priority is the shops, obviously, but you're working on the technology in the background so that you could offer more flexibility. It's just some companies obviously everybody went home working. Then they thought, oh, actually, we'll develop a whole home
Yeah,
working division. But you're not at that stage yet. But
not yet, no.
you could look at it, I
Yeah.
guess, if the
Yeah.
technology was
It's
there.
certainly something we need to do. We are aware, you know, customer trends and the way people book holidays has changed. So we are very much aware, and that is at the forefront of our mind, that we're moving in that direction.
Yeah. So if somebody wants to book a holiday at the moment after 5:30, what do they do with Dawson?
So with Dawson and Sanderson, we now have have a call to book facility. So that is what we're promoting at the moment, and we do have people available up till anywhere between 8 and 9 o'clock at night.
Oh, okay. So
So, yeah,
it's not like the doors shut at half
no,
5. Okay, so you can still do
not
it.
quite.
No. And then just on the training side of things, then just to finish off on that, because you were saying you have these fantastic service levels. Is the training around service, or is it around product, or what's the focus?
It very much is a balance. We do have excellent customer service, so we never want to lose sight of that. So for anybody new coming into the business, it's important they understand the lens that we do go to and our customer support side. However, we are very focused on working with the suppliers and making sure the brand's there. I think we've identified that obviously we have key sellers and our top sellers, but what's very important as well is these new people coming into our business with the lack of industry knowledge. It's really important we get them engaged with our suppliers. And I think that's something about this industry that I find fascinating, is we're not actually making something to sell. We're actually selling other people's products. So it's actually very supportive. So actually the ability to reach out and get help from people, you know, what's good business for us is good business for them. So the support and the help is there, which is fantastic.
And do you sell anyone, or do you have a sort of preferred supplier list, and what's that based on, if you do?
I think we have obviously business partners we do a lot of business with, but we do our market is that you can do anything with us, and that's always been our motto. So we do have a long
service retailers, aren't you?
So we can provide anything that the customer is looking for at the end of the day.
But I guess it's, if you've got suppliers though that are just much more engaged and they're coming to doing training and they're really answer the phones quicker, I guess they're the ones that you would tend to work more with. Some retailers and agencies did sort of stop working with people after the pandemic, because of the experience they'd had with certain partners. So I just didn't know whether you'd reduced the number you were working with, or you were still okay. So you're still working.
I think for me, there's a lot of suppliers. I think, when I look at the supplier list, there is a lot of them, and
you've got to learn all their products, so it's quite a big job, isn't it?
And I do sit back and I think, you know, I've always said this to the guys out on the counters. That is a hell of a job, isn't it? You know, I look at myself and I think, Christ, half the time I don't know where I want to go on holiday. When someone walks through the door and you're faced with all those possible options, that's quite a task to actually get that out of the individual and actually make a sale. That's quite a challenging job, I do think. So hats off to them all.
And are you quite prescriptive how you want your guys trained? I mean, do you want face-to-face training, or do they go on webinars? Or, I mean, how do you make sure, or how do you work with your supplier partners?
I don't think there's one category fits all. I do think different training works. I think it's about the individual. So I think some people learn differently to others. So I think you do have to have a range of options available to people.
And are you getting many of your staff away on trips? So you said you were at minimum staffing levels in your shops, and I get that, everybody is. But are you managing to, is that sort of coming back? And because it's a nice reward for people, isn't it? And also it's important because if they experience the product, they can sell it better.
100%, and that's something that I'm very focused on. So no, I've been amazed at the opportunities that have come in and are available to people. So we do track who's going on who's taking up which options, making sure that we get variety across all of our stores, not just focusing on those top sellers. You know, we want them to have the opportunities and the reward that brings, but also engaging with the people who, you know, if there's somebody who's frightened to sell cruises because they've never seen a ship or they don't know anything about cruise, you know, the availability is there to get them out and visit these ships and go on these educationals. So that's really key to us, is to make sure that they have that experience. And at the end of the day, that's one of the benefits of the industry, isn't it? Is that these options are there for you.
Oh, definitely. It's definitely a perk. And when they come back from these trips, what do you make them do? Do they have to share their you know, their findings with not just their branch but the whole group?
Yeah, so we asked them to write a blog, just internally really about their experience, but also to talk to other employees. So to go back to, if it's in a particular branch, to sit down and go through that with their colleagues.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, one person going somewhere isn't the end of it. It needs to be a shared experience. And also I think that's where people's passion comes across, and it can be exciting, can't it? Is to see
Yeah.
that engagement from someone.
Yeah, and you definitely would buy from somebody who was really
Yes.
kind of really knowledgeable and really enthusiastic. So it's really important.
Yeah.
All right, like, so we talk about just general product and what you're selling. You mentioned that some shops were more focused on
Yeah.
one thing or other. I guess that's just due to the demographic or
Yeah.
but what are your big sellers, or what are your big focuses, or you know, what would you like to be selling more of just in terms of product?
It's a really good question and a hard one for myself.
I know we're now into
There's
pure travel rather
I
than
know,
running
I
a
was going to say,
business.
like, there's so
Sorry.
much out there and I'm still learning,
But
you
we're
know,
hearing
look,
lots that people are seeing much more requests for all inclusive, for example, and
yes,
therefore cruise has been selling quite well because it's an all inclusive product.
yeah,
So I
I
just
was
didn't
going
know
to
what you
say,
were seeing.
yeah, I will be honest. We are seeing the cruise numbers are up massively. I think that's taken me by surprise for sure.
Yeah.
So we are seeing that area of demand increasing. We've had a couple of meetings recently, which has really highlighted that with some key suppliers. There is certainly the opportunity there, and that's growing week on week. So I think, yeah, our numbers are significantly up in that area.
Okay.
I think more your package holidays, you know, again, they're doing really well. They're doing really well.
We talked and you had a good peaks, didn't you? And in fact, I think we
Did.
quoted you saying that actually there could be, as it's gone so well, there could
Yes,
be an availability issue around those really key sort of, I guess, school holiday, summer months. Do
absolutely.
you stand by that still? Has it slowed down, or are you still seeing
It
that
has slowed
demand?
down, but not to the extent I think it would. I think the thing that takes me by surprise the most is these bank holiday weeks. I'm like sitting watching the numbers come in on a daily basis, and it really does surprise me as to what big an impact these things have. So around consumer movement and the way that's working, I'm still learning. I will say I'm still learning in that area, and I do sit there and I'm like, is this normal?
I was going to say, I don't think this at the last few years or anything, you can't really compare anything because it's just all been so crazy. And you're right, we've got an awful lot of bank holidays and coronation and all sorts of things that are going to throw
Exactly.
it out again, I guess, this year. But trends wise, then, are people spending more? Are they trading up? Are they
Yes.
going for longer? Or is the cost of living crisis, particularly in your area, are you seeing anything where people are
No.
nervous and holding back? Or what do you
I'll be honest, no, the cost of living we don't feel is impacting the business as we expected it might.
Yeah.
I think that's something to do with the region. I think when you're looking at statistically, and certainly the feedback from people in our region, people are not going to give up their holidays. It's a critical thing that people want, and I think
I
they've
love
not
that.
had it for so long.
Critical.
Absolutely. So no, people are definitely spending more. The average holiday value is certainly increased when we're looking at the trends from kind of 2018 pre-pandemic levels,
Yeah.
definitely.
So,
Yeah.
and is that because they're just going on nicer holidays? Are they going for longer, or are they going, you know, to a
Um,
higher accommodation category? Or
It's the accommodation category, I
yeah,
think. That's what we're seeing. They are just spending. I haven't seen the durations extended, I don't think.
they just
So
want
I
a
think they are
nicer
spending more
holiday?
money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And they're
absolutely.
prepared to
Okay.
spend it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, well, I love that. I mean, we actually all the research we've seen shows that people are not going to give up their holiday.
No,
But I do
no,
like that. I think we should go around saying a holiday is critical.
it is.
This is now definitely. Okay, and let's just quickly finish with you. Where do you normally go on holiday, and has your mind changed since you've taken on this role? Have you changed what you kind of do for your free time?
I think I've realized how much opportunity there is out there. I think, look, I will be honest, one of my favorite countries to visit is Portugal. I just love, I think I would happily buy a house out there. I absolutely love the Portuguese. I don't think there's anywhere I've been that I haven't absolutely fell in love with.
Yeah.
So that is definitely my favorite country, but I am keen. I've never been on a cruise ship. I've never seen a cruise ship.
Oh, wow.
So I'm quite interested because I'm meeting a lot of the suppliers and chatting to them, and I'm thinking I actually have no idea what this is like.
You need to get yourself and some of your staff down to the Clear conference, but I think it might well be sold out by now. But there's
Yeah,
obviously a couple of ships in to
we
see
have a
what
lot
it.
of people going, but then I do think it's justifying me taking a spot above some of our staff at the minute. So I think,
Oh,
I
yeah.
would rather they had the opportunity, and I think,
To be
that thing.
honest, a cruise line's going to watch this, Annelene, and you're going to get inundated with offers, I'm sure, for someone to show you what a cruise ship's all about. But yeah, but isn't that weird? Because
Yeah,
I hadn't obviously seen one before I, started doing this job, and but it
yeah,
is makes such a difference to really understand it. And I have friends now who've never been on a cruise and they can't get their heads around it. And so I'm
no,
constantly explaining it, but it is all about seeing it, isn't it? So
absolutely,
all right, so
absolutely.
we've got to get you on a cruise in and around your Portugal holidays. So, well, listen, I'm so grateful for your time. Your enthusiasm is just infectious. You're clearly
Oh,
loving doing what you're doing, and it sounds like
good.
you're having great results and lots to come as well. I mean, you've teased us a little bit with
I
these
know.
things that are coming down the line, and we'd be delighted to report on them for you, Annelene. And we just wish you all the best, and all your staff as well, and all your team there. So, thank you for
Oh,
your time today.
oh, thank you ever so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks, Lucy.